Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandra.
And I'm Hem Korsura, and on the show today, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Tel Aviv in a bid to secure a truce and hostage exchange deal between Israel and Hamas. And this, of course, as West Asia continues to remain on the boil and the blame game continues between Israel and Hamas. We'll get you all the updates from the region on the show today.
Also on World DNA, as the nationwide outrage over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in Kolkata continues in India, 71 Padma awardee doctors have now sought Prime Minister Modi's intervention. They have written to the Prime Minister expressing their sorrow and anguish and have asked for immediate assistance to address violence against healthcare professionals. We are going to be tracking that closely for you. Let's start with the headlines.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrives in Tel Aviv on another visit to West Asia to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. Hamas raises doubts about the mission just hours after he landed by accusing Israel of undermining his efforts.
US President Joe Biden says Gaza ceasefire is still a possibility, despite Israel and Hamas trading blame. Biden says US is not giving up.
Ukraine claims it has destroyed a second strategic bridge in a week as it continues its incursion into Russia's Kursk. Ukrainian military releases aerial footage of the strike on the bridge.
Russia denies that Ukraine's attack on the Kursk region had derailed indirect talks with Kiev on halting strikes on energy and power targets, says there has been no talk with Kiev about civilian infrastructure facilities.
US Vice President Kamala Harris indirectly criticizes former President Donald Trump, suggests her opponent in the November 5th election is a coward whose politics focuses on putting down rivals.
The Democratic National Convention kicks off on Monday with delegates and officials descending on Chicago after a wild few weeks that saw the party switch out its nominee, appending what had already been an unprecedented campaign year.
"71 Padma awardee doctors write to Prime Minister Modi expressing deep concern and anguish over the recent rape and murder of a resident doctor in Kolkata, seek his immediate intervention to address the issue.
Foxconn finally addresses a Reuters report that accuses iPhone assembler of workplace discrimination. The company says it values married women in its workforce after Reuters expose.
Arena Sabalenka beats world number 1 Iga Swiatek 6-3, 6-3 to register her first win over the pole this season. The third seed will face world number 6 Jessica Pegula in the final of the Cincinnati Open. One person was killed after a bomb exploded in Tel Aviv. This as US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in the city.
Well, in a renewed bid to seal a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, that is what Blinken is expecting here from this visit. Now, a senior Israeli police officer said that they were probing an explosion in Tel Aviv as a possible terror attack. An unidentified man died in the blast after a bomb that he was carrying in his bag went off.
The attack came as Israel continued to pound the Gaza Strip. Gaza health authorities claim the Israeli strikes across Gaza have led to 24 deaths over the weekend. This includes a woman and her 6 children. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden said that a Gaza ceasefire is still possible despite Israel and Hamas accusing each other of sabotaging the peace talks. Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris also called for a Gaza ceasefire deal during a campaign trip to Pennsylvania.
Do you think Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is ready to agree to a ceasefire deal?
I will not speak for him, but I will tell you that these conversations are ongoing and we are not giving up. And we are going to continue to work very hard on this. We got to get a ceasefire and we got to get those hostages out.
These statements came as US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken arrived in Tel Aviv, and this is his 9th trip to West Asia since the Gaza war began last year. He is set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and several other top Israeli leaders as well. The US Secretary of State will travel to Cairo on Tuesday, where ceasefire talks will resume.
Blinken's visit comes days after US and fellow mediators, Egypt and Qatar, said that they are closing in on a deal after 2 days of talks in Doha. But recent statements from Israel and Hamas do not match the optimistic tone of the mediators.
Netanyahu has accused Hamas of sabotaging the truce talks. The Israeli Prime Minister made this remark during a cabinet meeting in Jerusalem. Listen to this.
Once again, I would like to emphasize, up until now, Hamas has been completely obstinate. It did not even send a representative to the talks in Doha. Therefore, the pressure needs to be directed at Hamas and Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, not the government of Israel.
Hamas, on the other hand, has accused Netanyahu of obstructing an agreement for a truce and hostage exchange in Gaza.
Hamas has called the new proposal for a ceasefire deal too close to Netanyahu's recent positions, raising doubts over the success of peace talks in Cairo. All right, to discuss this further, we're being joined from New York by Adrian Kalmal, who's a fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute. Mr. Kalmal, thank you so much for joining in. And of course, I wanted to understand from you at this point, with Israel and Hamas blaming each other and nothing concrete being achieved in the recent talks in Doha, do you feel Blinken's visit to Tel Aviv at this point is more than optics?
Great question. Thank you for having me back. And no, I don't believe it's more than anything but optics at this point. It really seems like the definition of insanity when you go 9 times and keep on doing this and you get the same result. I don't know what they're hoping to achieve. I know what he's there to do. He's going to probably put more pressure on the Netanyahu government in Israel. Just as Netanyahu was saying, he really should be pressuring the Hamas leadership because they've rejected one deal after another. So, yeah, it's optics. It's optics. And then you have to look at the negotiators. It's Qatar, who is Hamas's, their largest sponsor. And then Egypt also with the Philadelphia crossing, which is so important. We won't get into that, but Israel needs to be able to control those tunnels and make sure that Hamas cannot resupply into those areas.
Right, Mr. Kalmal, also let's just talk about what's happening on ground as well. Israel is continuing to bomb Gaza. Hamas has refused to be part of the recent talks. Ismail Haniyeh's assassination in Tehran and an impending Iranian attack. Now, this is the backdrop that we're working against. Do you feel a ceasefire deal is even possible at this juncture?
Great question, and no, I don't believe it's possible. When I look at it, when I look at the map, I see a lot of this being directed out of the Islamic Republic of Iran. They are the ones pulling the strings. they're the ones that will say, okay, we're going to back down and Israel has hit us too hard and we need to scale it back and stop climbing this escalation ladder. Or they just open another front, the northern front, and with Hezbollah, which has been active since the beginning of the war, since October 8th. So, it's just I just don't see a deal feasible. And at the end of the day, I don't think Hamas has much agency in what they do or what they say.
All right. Well, Mr. Calamer, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Thank you so much for your insights on this.
Thank you.
Well, it's been less than 2 weeks into its stunning cross-border incursion. Ukraine has destroyed a key bridge in Russia's Kursk region and struck a second one nearby on Sunday.
Right, and the destruction of the first bridge that spanned the same river near the town of Glushkovo is expected to impede deliveries of supplies to Russian forces repelling Ukraine's incursion. Less than 2 days later, Russian telegram channels claimed a second bridge in the village of Zvano had been struck as well.
Now, according to Russia's MASH news site, the attacks left the area with just one bridge intact, which meant the Ukrainian strikes would further complicate Moscow's attempts to recharge its forces in Kursk and evacuate civilians. Glushkovo lies some 12 kilometers north of the Ukrainian border and approximately 16 kilometers, that's about 10 miles, northwest of the main battle zone in Kursk. Zvano is located in a further 8 kilometers in the northeast.
Now, Kyiv has been tight-lipped about the planned scope and the goals of its lightning push into Russia. However, the strikes on the bridges are apparently aimed at blocking a Russian counter-push in Kursk, which could mean that Kyiv intends to seek a foothold in the region or at least signal to Moscow that it plans to do so.
Experts say that although Ukraine could try to unite its gains within Russia, it would be a risky maneuver. Kyiv's resources are limited and supply lines extending deep into Kursk would be vulnerable to Russian strikes. Ukrainian President Zelensky has urged Kyiv's allies to lift the remaining restrictions on using Western weapons to strike targets deeper in Russia.
Russia's foreign ministry, on the other hand, has alleged that US-made HIMARS launchers were used to destroy bridges on the same. Meanwhile, the head of the UN nuclear watchdog said the safety situation at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is worsening following reports from its team of a nearby drone strike.
Kyiv and Moscow have traded blame for a string of attacks in the vicinity of the power plant. Ukraine has repeatedly alleged that Russia plans to stage an attack and blame Ukrainian forces. Moscow has shot down media reports of indirect talks with Kyiv in the wake of Ukraine's Kursk offensive.
According to these reports, Ukraine and Russia were set to send delegates to Qatar to negotiate an agreement halting strikes on energy and power infrastructure on both warring sides. The Russian Foreign Ministry, however, has denied this. Here's a report with more details on this. Take a look.
Russia carried out its third ballistic missile attack on Kyiv this month, but most of them are apparently shot down on approach, the city's military administration said on Sunday. Residents in the Ukrainian capital were inspecting the crater caused by what's believed to be a North Korean missile. Kyiv officials said there were no immediate reports of casualties in the capital. Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of striking civilian infrastructure in the war, and both deny doing so. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Saturday his troops had strengthened positions in Russia's Kursk region, nearly 2 weeks into their incursion. He called for bold decisions by Kyiv's allies to allow long-range strikes. These Ukrainian soldiers are conducting drills across the border from Kursk, where Ukraine says it has seized more than 80 settlements over 444 square miles since October 6th. It's the biggest invasion of Russia since World War II. Against the backdrop of that incursion, Belarus's president, a staunch ally of Russia's Vladimir Putin, spoke of a tense standoff along his country's border with Ukraine on Sunday. President Alexander Lukashenko said Ukraine had stationed more than 120,000 troops along that border, and Minsk had deployed nearly a third of its armed forces there. Russia denied a report that Ukraine's Kursk attack had derailed indirect talks with Kyiv on halting strikes on energy and power targets. A spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry denied those talks had been going on, saying no one broke anything off because there was nothing to break off. She was responding to a report in the Washington Post on Saturday that Ukraine and Russia were planning to send delegations to Qatar this month to negotiate a landmark agreement on halting strikes on critical civilian infrastructure.
All right, let's shift our focus now. It seems the luck of the Democrats, it's taken a turn for the better in the past few weeks since President Joe Biden ended his campaign.
And of course, once he ended his campaign, it made way for Vice President Kamala Harris to become the party's presidential nominee. Harris is now heading into the Democratic National Convention, riding a historic whirlwind. Harris' campaign has broken records for fundraising, packed arenas with supporters, and turned the polls in some crucial battleground states in the favor of the Democrats. Take a look at this report.
In the promise of America.
Heading into the Democratic National Convention that kicks off Monday, Vice President Kamala Harris, now the party's presidential candidate, is riding a historic whirlwind. Her campaign has broken records for fundraising, packed arenas with supporters, and turned the polls in some battleground states in Democrats' favor. And she also now has her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, by her side.
I'm proud to be on this ticket, working with Vice President Harris, who we all know we want to call the next president of the United States.
But pollsters and strategists from both major parties warned that the sugar high of Harris's initial surge will wear off, leaving simmering divisions among Democrats on issues like the economy and the Israel-Hamas war, along with a fierce battle against Republican candidate Donald Trump.
I believe she will be easier to beat.
According to the latest data issued Wednesday from the non-partisan Cook Political Report, Harris is currently leading or tied with Trump in 6 of 7 swing states that are expected to decide the November 5th election.
As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity.
But despite Harris having her first major economy-focused speech on Friday, where she laid out proposals to cut taxes for most Americans, ban price gouging by grocers, and boost affordable housing, she will face increased public pressure to provide more details on policy, as well as navigate other issues like intra-party squabbles over U.S. support for Israel's war against Hamas. But with less than 80 days to go to Election Day, in 5 weeks since U.S. President Joe Biden abandoned his flailing re-election bid, the Democratic Party is hoping to ride the new wave of enthusiasm to victory and make Harris the nation's first female president.
Sri Lanka is getting ready for its high-octane presidential polls, the first after the country plunged into an unprecedented economic crisis.
It's also for the first time 39 candidates are vying for the top job, though the competition is likely to narrow down to 4, including incumbent Ranil Wickremesinghe and leader of opposition Sajith Premadasa.
Now, in the latest, a group of election observers from the European Union and the Commonwealth have reached Sri Lanka to monitor the polls. The EU has monitored 6 elections in the island country in the past, with the last being the presidential polls of 2019.
As the battle for the presidential race gets intense, some of the prominent candidates have already hit the campaign trail. They plan to hold as many as 100 rallies each across the country ahead of the polls. Apart from Wickremesinghe and Premadasa, the other key contenders are JVP's Anura Kumara Dissanayake and SLPP's Namal Rajapaksa, the eldest son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Sri Lanka's key presidential candidates have kick-started their poll campaigns, drawing thousands to their rallies ahead of the September 21st vote. Wickremesinghe launched his campaign from the holy city of Anuradhapura.
වින්දේ දුක අපි දන්නවා මම නැහැ කියන්නේ මම දන්නවා අපි වැට් වැඩි කරද්දී ඇති උනේ බර මම නැහැ කියන්නේ කරන්ට සිදු වුණා මේ තත්ත්වයට එන්න කැමැත්තෙන් කරේ නෑ අකමැත්තෙන් කරේ.
Premadasa, on the other hand, hit the road from a city in central Sri Lanka after a Buddhist ceremony. Later, he visited a temple, church and a mosque.
ऐतिहासिक අවස්ථාවේ අපේ රටේ ඉතිහාසය අලුතෙන් ලියවෙන මොහොතක මම ආරාධනා කරනවා ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම මේ වැඩපිළිවෙලේ සාක්ෂිකරුවන් බවට පමණක් පත් නොවි ඔබත් මේ වැඩසටහනේ නියමුවන් නායකින් පංගුකරුවන් හවුල්කරුවන් කොටස්කරුවන් බවට පත් වෙලා රට දිනවන අලුත් ගමනට ඔබ සියලු දෙනාගේම සහයෝගය ශක්තිය ලබා දෙන්නයි කියලා මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා.
The presidential poll in the Indian Ocean nation is key to charting Sri Lanka's way out of a crisis unleashed after exhausting its foreign reserves, sending the economy into a free fall and defaulting on foreign debt in 2022.
Paetongtarn Shinawatra has become Thailand's youngest ever Prime Minister. The 37-year-old was sworn in on Sunday.
Well, after she accepted the king's command to form a government, Paetongtarn Shinawatra was royally endorsed as the nation's new Prime Minister days after Shreta Thavisin was dismissed as the Prime Minister by the Constitutional Court. As part of the royal endorsement, Paetongtarn knelt in front of a portrait of the king and vowed to serve the nation wholeheartedly.
I'd like to thank the people of Thailand, whether you voted for me or not. I promise to serve everyone equally and wholeheartedly, every age, every gender, every diversity. Together, let's turn any challenges into opportunities, making Thailand a place where everyone can dream, create, and shape their future. Thank you.
Shinawatra won by nearly 2/3 in a House of Representatives vote last week. She is no stranger to Thai politics, as Shinawatra is the daughter of divisive former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. She is also the niece of Thailand's first female Prime Minister, Yingluck Shinawatra.
While speaking at her first news conference, the newly elected leader said she will continue the policies of her predecessor, Shreta, which includes economic stimulus and reform, tackling illegal drugs, improving the country's universal healthcare system as well.
Thailand's court dismissed Shreta over a cabinet appointment. The judiciary ruling also came after it ordered to disband the anti-establishment Move Forward party, the 2023 election winner, over a campaign to amend a royal insult law. The court said that the campaign risked undermining the constitutional monarchy.
The Sichuan County in South China's Guangxi Zhuan Autonomous Region observed the annual River Lantern and Song Festival to mourn the memory of ancestors and pray for happiness and peace.
The festival featured special activities including a fireworks show and a folk art display as well. Take a look. And with that, it's time now for a short break.
You don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. We will be back after this short break. On the other side, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to embark on a historic one-day visit to Poland on the 21st of August. Prime Minister Modi's visit will mark the first visit by an Indian PM to the country in 40 years. Stay tuned. We'll get you the full details.
Also on the other side, amid growing outcry over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in India's West Bengal, 71 Padma Awardee doctors have written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking his immediate intervention. We'll get you the details of this on the other side. Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to visit Poland. This will be the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Poland in 45 years. Focus will be on strategic partnership, trade, investments, Russia-Ukraine war and diaspora. Follow me, Siddhant Sibal, as I bring you all the live and latest updates on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland only on WION.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started with the headlines first.
Chinese and Philippine vessels collide during a confrontation near a disputed shoal in the South China Sea. China Coast Guard says Philippine vessel deliberately collided, while Philippines says it is unlawful and it was aggressive maneuvers by the Chinese.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrives in Tel Aviv on another West Asia tour to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. Hamas raises doubts about the mission just hours after he landed by accusing Israel of undermining his efforts.
US President Joe Biden says Gaza ceasefire is still a possibility. Despite Israel and Hamas trading blame, Biden says US is not giving up.
Ukraine claims it has destroyed a second strategic bridge in a week as it continues its incursion into Russia's Kursk. Ukrainian military releases aerial footage of the strike on the bridge.
Russia denies that Ukraine's attack on the Kursk region had derailed indirect talks with Kiev on halting strikes on energy and power targets. Says there has been no talks with Kiev about civilian infrastructure facilities.
US Vice President Kamala Harris indirectly criticizes former President Donald Trump, suggests her opponent in the November 5th election is a coward whose politics focuses on putting down rivals.
The Democratic National Convention kicks off on Monday with delegates and officials descending on Chicago after a wild few weeks that saw the party switch out its nominee, appending what had already been an unprecedented campaign year.
"71 Padma Awardee doctors write to Prime Minister Modi expressing deep concern and anguish over the recent rape and murder of a resident doctor in Kolkata, seek his immediate intervention to address the issue."
Foxconn finally addresses a Reuters report that accuses iPhone assembler of workplace discrimination. Company says it values married women in its workforce after Reuters exposing.
Arena Sabalenka beats world number 1 Iga Swiatek 6-3, 6-3 to register her first win over the pole this season. The third seed will face world number 6 Jessica Pegula in the final of the Cincinnati Open. Amid the growing outcry over the rape and murder of a trainee doctor in India's West Bengal, 71 Padma Awardee doctors have now written to the Prime Minister seeking his immediate intervention in the case.
In the letter, the doctors highlighted the growing cases of violence against healthcare professionals, especially women and girls, and urged the central government as well as the state governments to enact and implement a separate law for their protection.
Demanding an ordinance, resident doctors at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences or AIIMS Delhi have announced that they would continue their strike. The RDA has announced that the doctors will be providing elective OPD services outside the Union Health Ministry in Delhi.
Meanwhile, pan-India protests continue. Marches and candlelight vigils are being held across multiple locations as a sign of sympathy towards the trainee doctor who was found dead at the Kolkata-based RG Medical College and Hospital on the 9th of August.
The post-mortem report revealed that she was raped by more than one person before she was strangled and smothered to death. The Central Bureau of Investigation, which is handling the case, conducted a psychological testing of the main accused. We're talking about Sanjay Roy. Also, it conducted 3D laser mapping in the emergency ward of the RG Medical College and Hospital.
The Supreme Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the case. A three-judge bench led by Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, will hear the matter on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a historic one-day visit to Poland on the 21st of August.
And this marks the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the country in 40 years. Apart from meeting Polish President Andrzej Duda and Prime Minister Donald Tusk, Prime Minister Modi will also pay tribute to the Indian soldiers who fought alongside Polish soldiers during World War II.
Our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal has sent this report from Poland on more on this and what to expect from the visit.
The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to travel to Poland. This is a significant visit. The last time an Indian Prime Minister traveled to Poland was way back in 1979. With me are members of the Indian diaspora, Indians who have been living here in Poland for last several years, last 40 to 30 years. With me is Mr. J.J. Singh, Mr. Rajesh Bojwani and Raju Sabnani, and they have been playing an important role in terms of Polish society and that important connect between India and Poland. Let me start with Mr. J.J. Singh. Sir, welcome to WION. My first question to you is, how do you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland?
Well, it's very significant. As you already said, it's after 45 years. And I think any visit on the state level, at this level, is good for building up the relation between the two countries. We see that this will give the boost to already relations, which are very cordial between India and Poland, but it will take to a next level.
Coming to you, the big focus of the Indian community has been what in terms of the occupations here in Poland. If you can talk about that, the role they are playing in the Polish society.
So the Indians, as we know, very diverse. We've come into this country, and what I'm very happy to say is that we've established ourselves in various genres. So you have people who come in not only in the IT, the people who do textile industry is probably one of the most prominent ones. A lot of people who've done the electronic business, predominantly business style. And we've established ourselves since the last 32 years in this country. So the excitement for us is equally as much as everybody just said. And I believe that, the relations which we have between India and Poland are just going to double, triple and go to another level. Everybody is excited, not just the Indian, but I think even a lot of Polish friends keep asking us, my God, your Prime Minister is arriving. And our Prime Minister has he's a global icon in today's day. So there's a lot of excitement. That's it.
A lot of excitement. Sir, if you can talk about yourself and the popularity of Indian culture, yoga, and in fact Indian restaurants as well. Several Indian restaurants are there in Poland. In fact, in Warsaw as well, we know that significant numbers of restaurants are present.
Yes, we have more than 8 to 10 Indian restaurants in Warsaw itself. Plus, each city have 1 or 2 restaurants in all over Poland.
What are they going to do?
Is going to be a historic visit. This marks the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the country in 40 years. It's been 4 decades since an Indian Prime Minister stepped in Poland. Of course, we will be tracking those developments closely with Siddhant Sibal on ground.
And actually, it is the remarkable act of kindness by an Indian Maharaja that has been an enduring force in sustaining India-Poland relations.
And of course, it's provided refuge. This is Maharaja who provided refuge to thousands of Polish refugees during World War II. Our diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal gets you all the details from Warsaw on this story. In the heart of the Polish capital, Warsaw, lies the Good Maharaja Square, called the Dobrego Maharadzi. It has a strong India connect. It pays homage to Jam Sahib Digvijay Singh Ji, Ranjit Singh Ji Jadeja of Navanagar, Gujarat. Known affectionately as the Good Maharaja in Poland, Jam Sahib played a pivotal role during World War II by offering refuge to over 1,000 Polish children. From 1942 to 1946, he shielded these children from war-torn Poland and the Soviet camps in Stalin's Siberia. The memorial, unveiled in 2014, honors his courageous efforts. In addition, Walived, a village near Kolhapur in Maharashtra, hosted Polish families and children from Jam Sahib's Balachadi camp till they were reunited with their families. The Maharaja's noble efforts are inscribed in Hindi, Polish on this memorial. Not just the memorial. Today, as many as 8 Polish primary and secondary schools are named after the Good Maharaja in Poland. Former Poland ambassador to India, Adam Borokowski, is a graduate of Maharaja School in Warsaw. In fact, Maharaja School cooperates with Rajkumar College in Rajkot. The Maharaja belongs to Gujarat, Prime Minister Modi's home state. Ahead of Prime Minister Modi's Poland visit, the top Polish diplomat in Delhi, Dr. Sebastian Domozalski, recalled how Polish people remember him.
Maharaja of Jamnagar, Gujarat was one of the places that welcomed Polish refugees. The other one was Maharashtra near Kolhapur, where we had 5,000 people. But of course, Jam Sahib is someone who is being remembered for his words, for his contribution.
The surviving Polish children have formed an association of Poles that meets every year in one of the major Polish cities. In 2016, 50 years after the Jam Sahib's death, Poland's parliament unanimously adopted a special resolution honoring Jam Sahib Digvijay Singh Ji for his aid to Polish child refugees during World War II.
The Maharaja's actions earned him international recognition and respect. He's fondly remembered both in Poland and India. This square and this memorial is a homage to him, a homage that the Indian Prime Minister will also be paying during his Poland visit. But above all, his story is a story of humanitarian effort, an effort that the people of Poland will never forget. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibal for WION in Warsaw, Poland.
Foxconn chairman Young Liu defended the company's hiring practices in India after a Reuters report revealed that married women were being systematically excluded from iPhone assembly jobs.
The report published in June alleged that Foxconn's main India iPhone plant discriminates against married women due to perceived family responsibilities. It emphasized that Foxconn values women's contributions and highlighted the company's commitment to gender inclusivity during the inauguration of a new hostel complex for its female employees in Tamil Nadu, India. The controversy has drawn significant attention, prompting New Delhi to order an investigation into these claims.
Although Foxconn admitted to past lapses in its hiring practices, it strongly denies any ongoing discrimination. The company asserts that women make up a substantial part of its workforce. Listen in to what Foxconn chief had to say on this.
Foxconn hires regardless of gender, but women do make up a big part of our workforce here. I will emphasize that married women greatly contribute to the efforts of what we are doing here. The trend for all types of hires.
This case reflects a broader trend in the workplace where companies are increasingly expected to demonstrate genuine commitment to gender equality. Reports of discriminatory practices like those involving Foxconn can severely impact a company's reputation, highlighting discrepancies between corporate statements and actual practices. In response, businesses may enhance their policies to better align with their public commitments to diversity and inclusion, addressing systemic issues and promoting a more equitable work environment.
As companies face growing scrutiny over their workforce practices, the emphasis on creating supportive environments for all employees, regardless of marital status, is becoming crucial in maintaining corporate credibility and attracting top talent.
All right, time now for developments from the world of technology. A recent report has revealed that in the last 5 years, ambulances have been dispatched to Amazon warehouses in the UK over 1,400 times, raising concerns about safety at the company's facilities. The distribution centres recorded the highest numbers with 161 and 125 call-outs at two different centres. 1/3 of ambulance calls were due to chest pains, while other cases involved seizures, strokes and breathing difficulties. Serious mental health incidents, including suicide attempts, were reported in locations like Bolton, Chesterfield and London. There were also incidents related to pregnancy complications, traumatic injuries, chemical exposure, severe burns and electric shocks at various sites.
OpenAI has shut down accounts belonging to an Iranian group accused of using ChatGPT to influence the US presidential elections and other global issues. The group, known as Storm 2035, reportedly used the chatbot to create content related to US election candidates, the Gaza war, and Israel's presence in the Olympics, which they then posted on social media and websites. According to OpenAI's investigation, the group primarily produced long articles and short social media posts using ChatGPT. However, OpenAI's investigation also found that the operation gained little traction online. Most posts attracted few interactions, and the web articles saw limited distribution on social platforms. OpenAI has confirmed that it has banned the accounts and is closely monitoring for future violations.
A couple from the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh lost around $360,000, that's 3 crore rupees, in an elaborate cyber scam. The couple has claimed that they were tricked by a fake investment scheme promoted through a Facebook advertisement. After showing interest in the ad, they were added to a WhatsApp group supposedly run by a recognized investment platform. To build trust, the scammers even provided what seemed like legitimate registration details. One of the victims, Nabanita Mishra, said she could view her investment and supposed profits on the company's app but could not withdraw any money. Instead, she was asked to pay additional taxes to release the funds. The local police are now investigating the case and advising people to stay alert against similar online frauds.
All right, let's get you the latest from sports. Manchester City have kicked off their Premier League title defence with a victory. Goal machine Erling Haaland scored in his 100th game for the club as the defending champions beat Chelsea 2-0.
Now, it's never an easy task to be a Chelsea manager, and Enzo Maresca's tenure as Chelsea boss got off to the toughest possible start. The Italian side faced